Hi everyone, we're out and about again. It's breezy, but it's dry, and we're in a familiar place, but from an unfamiliar angle. We're in Newport. Yes, I've got my hat pulled down tight today because the wind is trying to take it away. We're stood across the river looking over to the city of Newport. And as we look that way, we can see bridges, and this way. There are half a dozen bridges, everything from the transporter bridge all the way through to the railway bridge. But behind me is the newest of the bridges. Iconic now here in Newport, the footbridge. And that links the one side to the other here across the river. And we're going to go into town and we're going to share some things with you. We're going to answer the question, why has this city put the statue of an ox right in the centre? What's that all about? And how did the Romans help build a Norman church? That's an interesting question too. And there'll be other things to see, shops to visit, architecture galore. So let's get on and take a look in Newport. As we walk along here in Newport, I'm struck yet again by the architecture. I love architecture. Keep saying to everyone, if you're in a town, don't look in the shop windows, look up above. Because down here they've really got such a combination. You've got so many influences from so many different parts of Europe. But one of the things that struck me at the moment that I want to share with you is a very modern build. Because this shop is obviously, when they built it, the local authority made the effort to try and keep up that idea of something special. Have a look at this. That's not the sort of shop you usually get built in the 21st century. But they made it to blend in with what's going on all along the road here. Because next door to this modern brick build is a much older brick build. You can see on the dates up the top, 1894. And someone took the trouble and had the pride to put APC, sorry, on the centre. But of course, as well as modern buildings that were made to match with the buildings around them, we also have modern buildings that are of their time. As we just go along here and see these beautiful bays up in the corner there, and then all of the scrolling and the architecture all along the top. If I just go around this side, then you can see Boots, and the building here is built in a much different style. Far more 1960s, I would say.
Ooh, anybody fancy a coach trip? Let's have a look what we've got here. Sunday lunch special, 12th of May 2023. 3 days, only £150. Ooh, let's move over here. That's a very annoying flashing light. Barbican Hotel, which I assume is in Barbican. That's going to cost you £260 for 4 nights. Cumberland Hotel, 7 days, only £410. And Llandudno. There you go for all our non-Welsh viewers. Try saying Llandudno. 22nd of May, 5 days, only £300. Ooh, look at this. It's not a chopper, it's a criminal. My sister had something similar, and hers was called a high riser. These were very in vogue at the time. I'd have loved one like this. Look at that seat. And I love the gear stick. It felt so grown up to have a gear stick there.
I've just noticed something. That is not the original name, I don't think.
No?
Because see?
Criminal records. Aha, I
The
thought I
record
hadn't
shop
heard
is opening.
of criminal ones. There you go. It's a record shop called Criminal Records. And look at those mannequins, they're a bit scary.
There's one right in the back of the bike.
Hello sir, do you have a comment to make? No, go away, I'm riding my bike. A modern record player, anybody? The more creepy dolls. There you go, this will be opening soon if you're into collecting your vinyl. Anybody fancy some antiques? An oil can light, and that will cost you £130. Got an old railway light that will cost you £135. And a chair with some flowers on with no price. Anything you fancy? Oh, I like that lampshade.
You would.
Very space age.
Oh, that one. I thought you fancied the £240 one.
No, that's more me.
Of course, as well as the old buildings, there are new buildings. And sadly, the link building for the new development here was Debenhams, which in recent years has gone. They went bust and it's no longer there. And that's not the only story of closure around here, because of course British Home Stores was also here in the city and they're gone. And there was another place called Wildings. They'd been trading here for 144 years as a department store. They had 14 stores across South Wales at one time. Their last store was here and it closed in 2019. So there's been a lot of change, a lot of ups and downs, but Newport is still a proud city, a city where they are looking to the future and as well as being proud of their past. And we're going to take you to something of the past now, because we're now going to show you that link between the statue that we started at and the city that we're standing in. While we make our way there, we're going to take you over to Johnson Towers, where Caroline and Manky have been very busy.
As you can see, poor old Panky is in a bad way. She's got grit and moss. There were even some roots growing through parts of her fur. I pulled a lot off, but she's also got an eye missing. And she's faded quite badly. She's quite flat. Her stuffing is really hard. So she definitely needs a revamp. And if I just bang her on the table gently, you can see the amount of dirt that's coming out of her. This is a panda that's in desperate need of a good clean. First thing I needed to do was find the seam on the back. I don't like to cut the fur unless I have to. So by finding the seam, you can open it up nicely, easily, and just take the cotton out, or the thread, whatever you call it. Inside you can see this old stuffing is very grim, very hard, very smelly, and really needed replacing. Manky decided he would help me out, and he was using the tweezers to try to get right into every nook and cranny and make sure that Panky was completely emptied. He was a bit shaky doing it. I thought he was looking a bit worried, but he said, no, I'm fine. Then he decided to watch, and after a while he went pale, even for Manky, and then I heard the thunk. He passed out. It was obviously too overwhelming for him, so I managed to flop a cloth in front of his face, cool him down, give him some air, and he eventually came round and decided to just watch. He wasn't going to help anymore, which I thought was a really wise idea. So when all the stuffing was taken out of Panky, then she needed a good soak, and then another soak, and then another soak, and then she went in the washing machine. So this is Panky now. She's been washed. There are still a few issues, but most of the moss is actually gone now. So she's looking quite clean. If she's anything like Manky, she will be shedding bits of dirt for the next couple of months. The first thing we need to do is sort out this eye. Now, we've had several suggestions. Some people said we could put an eye patch on her, but she asked if she could have an eye. The only eye I had here was a plain black one. And the one she's got is brown. So when we chatted about this before I anaesthetised her, she said she'd quite like a black one because it would just make her look a little bit different. So I thought, okay, we can go with that. So let's pop her eye in. The hole's ready made. In goes her new eye. push it through to the back, and then pop on the little holder thing. Oh, there we go. Doesn't she look lovely? Now it's time to stuff her. So there's still little bits of this foam coming out. It was horrible, that old foam. It was gone hard and smelly. So I got this, which is a fibre fill. I never pay a lot of money for my fibre fill. I buy cushions from the thrift store or charity shop for 50p, and I use that. Just, if you're going to do that, make sure that they're not smelly before you buy them. And the best way to do that is to use your very scientific and very accurate device, which is your nose, and just give them a sniff. You'll know. So I think we'll go for the arms and legs first. And use a pencil. Make sure they go right to the tips of her fingers. Now before the final bit of stuffing in her body, I got her heart. She chose this. We got all my buttons out, and this was her favourite heart button. So we're going to give her a heart, because you can't bring a panda back to life unless you give them a little heart. So we're going to pop a heart in place there. And then carry on stuffing. I decided, now she's washed, I'm going to do the rest of the assembly without Manky, because where he fainted yesterday, I thought best for him not to be here. He's not very happy. He wanted to join in, but I just think it's wiser. He's a very sensitive panda. Up a little bit. I've rubbed it with a bit of sandpaper and then put a little bit of oil on, because if you just rub it with sandpaper it looks more white. You put a little bit of oil on and then you just haven't got that stark shine. Give her a nice good brushing. I'm doing this while she's still anaesthetised because I don't want all the tugging. It could get very uncomfortable for her. So I'm going to do it now while she's asleep. Isn't she looking so much better? Now, one thing I have noticed with Panky is that she's slightly out of alignment. They seem to have put her head on at a slight angle, because this ear is higher than this one, this eye is higher, the nose is at an angle. So I think she probably wasn't well made when she was first made. If I do that, it straightens her up a little bit. She looks a little bit more even. But we did discuss this again before I did anything to her. I checked it was okay, and she said she liked being a little bit wonky. She felt that it made her more individual. She didn't want to look like every other panda in the world. And I think she's right. She's made the right decision. She's perfect the way she is. Now I'm going to take this Sharpie marker, which is a permanent marker, and just colour in some of the gaps and run over the fur as well. She doesn't want us to be completely black, but she would like to hide some of the white bits. So I said, yep, I'll give that a try. It's working a little bit. It's not the best job in the world, but it's a little bit darker than it was. So there she is. Now, I had strict instructions. I wasn't to put any black into her ears because she likes to look like she's had highlights. It's what she likes. It's how she wants to express herself. So I wasn't going to argue. I think she looks lovely. So a huge thank you to Richard for sending us Panky. She's already one of the family, and I think she looks wonderful. Time to wake her up, and you'll see her on the live show Saturday night, 9 p.m. BST, and maybe get to know her a little bit better, but I think she's absolutely gorgeous.
Now, one of the stories that we have told from Newport before and have mentioned on numerous occasions is the story of the Chartist movement. The story of the uprising that was quelled there outside the Westgate Hotel when the order was given to open fire, and 20 of the Chartists lost their lives that day. But the link between the Chartist movement and the cathedral is this. There's a plaque here that tells of the story how 10 of those who fell that day were secretly brought into the grounds of the church and buried in unmarked graves. And now they have placed a plaque to remember the movement, all that they stood for, and those men that were buried here on the grounds but have no marking amongst all the splendour that stands, all of the glorious tombstones around. This simple plaque tells the story of those men. Here we are outside St Woolas Cathedral. Now, Woolas is the anglicised version of St Gwynplaine, and he was converted to Christianity. He was a warlord, and the legend says it was his wife St Gladys, through the influence of the son as well, Cadog, that brought him to Christianity. And the legend says that he actually had a dream. And in his dream, he was told that wherever he saw an ox that was white with a black spot on his head, that is where he should build a church. And that's why we have the ox right in the centre of the city of Newport, the bell carrier as it's known, because that is commemorative of the legend, because it is here at the top of Stow Hill, high above the city of Newport, that he saw that ox, and here he built his hermitage. Now, the original church that would have been here would have been made of mud and timber and would have been replaced on numerous occasions, and it saw some pretty violent times. It was attacked by pirates that came over from Ireland. It was attacked by the Vikings that came in from Denmark. It was attacked here by the king and his men, and also by the uprising under Owen Glyndŵr. So it's sort of pretty bad time during its history. But little would they have realised back then, when this place stood almost in ruins, that one day this chapel that became a church would become a cathedral, and the city cathedral for Newport.
And if you're wondering what that ticking is, if we look right at the top of the tower, there's a flagpole with the rope that keeps going tick, 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 tick against the side.
And I can also hear an organ playing.
Somewhere in there is an organist entertaining us. There's a lot of work going on. You can see all this scaffolding and pieces of wood shielding us from the sides, but you can still see the wonderful doorway. That's pretty impressive. Let's go in. There is so much history here, but
there is Roman history here. At least that's what is believed, because it is reputed that the lovely archway that leads through into the major centre of the church, the pillars either side were taken from the fort at Caerleon, which was a Roman fort. So we have a Norman church with a Roman pillars that has Victorian additions, and this place takes it even further because it's in the 20th century with the alterations within the church that created the church in Wales and made Monmouth a diocese, that this church extended again in order that it could take up its role as a cathedral. And we see so clearly the mark between the old and the new, the ancient and the modern, as you go around this place. And I hope the images that we're showing from within St. Wooler's Cathedral give you some idea of the splendour and the beauty. And I think that what they've done in the modern section of the church complements so wonderfully the beauty of the old and the ancient. But we've got more to do. We've got the rest of the town to see, so we'd better get on and see what else we can find. So here we are, back down in the town and at the market. And this market tells a similar story in a much more modern era to the cathedral because of the adaptations, the changes. It was a market here in 1817. Eventually that became too small. It was extended, then it was demolished. It was rebuilt. Then the land was bought by the local authority and the building that stands here today was erected. But that wasn't the end of the story, because then where we see the Victorian facade on the one side, there is a very different look on the other side that was built in the 20th century. And as recent as the last couple of years, £6 million has been spent refurbishing and bringing this market into what is perceived to be the modern day. Now, whether we like it as it is or as it was, one thing is certain, that in a city there is always change, there is always progress, and this is a city that's looking to its future as well as celebrating its past. Come on, let's take a little look at this beautiful building inside.
Welcome to Newport Market. Marknad Casnewydd Croeso. Oh, let's go in. Isn't that pretty? I love all the greenery and such a gorgeous roof. Upstairs. This has recently been decorated. You can see everything is either very pale grey or black, and I actually think it works. You'd think it would be a bit familiar now. Oops, building work's still going on in some shops. But it looks very classy, I think. What do you reckon? Do you like this colour? Or would you go for different colours? All different colours are quite a jumble? Or something subtle?
It's clever, isn't it? The open space down through as well as the flooring area up here.
Very airy.
They're saying you can have your wedding in here, no?
Oh, very nice.
What a place, what a market. Some people loved the improvements, others preferred it as it was. As they say, we all want things to change, but at the same time, we don't want to go through the process. But to make a difference, you have to make a change. And they kept doing that time and time again here in this city. And it is a city that takes pride in its place. They tried 3 times. 1994, turned down. Then again in the millennium, turned down. But in 2002, in the Queen's Golden Jubilee, they got their status as city. 21 years, and it hasn't been easy. They've gone through the monetary crash, they've gone through pandemic, they're going through recession, But I believe, looking at the history and seeing the people that are working so hard here, that the future will be bright for Newport. If you've enjoyed this visit, then please give us a thumbs up.
Doing, doing, doing.
And don't forget, if any of your friends would like to travel with us, just share the link. But most important, till the next time we're out and about, have fun. Bye.
Bye.